Hello folks and welcome. So I have a video for you today that was requested by two users. One requested it from an Xfce desktop, the other one Cinnamon. And this tool is used on both. As a matter of fact, all the Linux Mint desktops use the same tool. It's called Warpinator. Do some secure file sharing on your local network. All right. So I have two other computers besides this one online, and we're going to do a little bit of file sharing. I'm going to talk a little bit about setting it up. I'm going to talk a little bit about troubleshooting also. A lot of things affect dropped connections. So that's where the troubleshooting part comes in. So I'm filming in 1920 by 1080, and I'm filming this from the Xfce desktop. You can use the same information on a Cinnamon desktop. So the video is titled, or will be titled, both for Xfce and Cinnamon. And that tool, first of all, filming in 1920 by 1080. Let me get this out of the way. You're watching this on Linux for Seniors. That's the name of my channel. Linux is for any age, but should say an icon floating above your time date if you like to subscribe. If you don't see that icon, go find me on YouTube, Linux for Seniors. I'm talking about this application for sharing files. I have two other computers online, as you can see. These other two computers, this one here is a tower computer with Linux Mint Cinnamon 21.3 running. This is a laptop, also with Linux Mint 21.3 because it was upgraded from 21.2. All right. And again, the only time you see the icons if they are assigned by the other system. Yeah, there's a little cutesy things you can do with that. But more importantly, the icons are going to be different if they're in use on the other machines. So this interface, when you first start it, will start up this way. If you open it for the first time, it will basically point to the fact that when you have Warpinator written across there, not all the modes are unlocked. To make this a better secure connection, change the standard group code from Warpinator to something different. But use simple lettering. Don't be using those pound symbols, @ keys, and all that stuff. So, in other words, go ahead and do that. Change it to whatever else. Now, I called mine that. So the yellow box just says you cannot communicate with computers that do not use the same group code. That's true. And you need to check the spelling. My suggestion is get out your digital camera and take a snapshot of this after you figure out what name you want to use. You're going to be using XNetwork 1 on all three computers, or 4, or however many. Maybe you only have 2. But the only reason you're using Warpinator is to share files and folders, right? So it's 2 or more computers. How's that? Once you figure out a name, set the code. Then it'll say secure mode on. Then my suggestion is to change this from automatic. And this will be just like that. And then you change whatever your connection point is. Now mine is Wi-Fi 6. So if you are changing that, then you can apply the changes. Incoming port is 42,000 and 42,001. Just leave those alone on all three computers. However, in here, I would suggest you update your firewall rules, whether you use a firewall or not. Update the rules will require your password. This is for later on, in case you decide to activate your firewall. And mine is actually on. And I'll show you that in a minute. Then once you do that, and of course, either handwrite this down or take your digital camera and take a snapshot and repeat that on the other two computers. Now we can get into general configuration. So let's start with the top one. Show icon in the notification area. Probably a good idea. Icons on this machine are pop up here. On the Cinnamon desktop, I believe it's the default the same, but you can also move those notifications downstairs, but that's a different setting. Start with the main window open, your choice. Do you want this to, as soon as you start it open, do you want this to populate, or do you want the icon to just go directly downstairs? Again, your choice. All right, the next question is start automatically. Well, do you want to have it start automatically when you log into your computer? In case you flip that on, it sets up your folder, your startup session in here. And it'll activate that. On the Cinnamon desktop, it will be very similar. Okay, so again, that's your choice. But let's say you don't want. Then you probably want to find the Warpinator application and then send it to your favorites. That's all up to you, of course, but I have mine sitting here. All right, start up automatically, your choice. The next one is use compression when possible. I would shy away from that if I were you, if you're using fast connections, because it does have a negative impact possibly on your networks. I'm using an AX network. You may have heard that. AX, AC, G networks, that kind of stuff. Anyways, I have mine turned off. Now the location of received files, Warpinator, it will save them in here in your downloads folder, Warpinator. And as you can see, I already have stuff in there. That's from the previous send. Somebody sent me these two things. And from here, I can cut them, copy them, put them in the local folders. So this is a secured container. So the next step is how big do you want that? Reserved space. 250 megabytes, 250 megabytes is the default. And that's usually sufficient for just about everything. Keep in mind you can send single files or even folders. All right, require approval is normally on. I don't like this feature because I will have to approve everything incoming. It can get annoying. You can have a whole bunch of these things that you have to approve before it gets put into your Warpinator folder. And then also could have an impact on the other machine. It's waiting for it to transfer, in other words. So in case that user wants to shut down their machine. All right, think about it. I have mine turned off, so everything that gets sent in here will automatically end up in the Warpinator folder, and these will light up green when there's an incoming receipt and a post-it note, because I told it to. Okay, so again, think about that one. Require approval when the files to be overwritten in the Warpinator folder. You probably want that. In other words, if the user sends another file with the same name on it, do you want it to overwrite it or not? Again, if you have that off, it will. If you don't, it'll get rejected if it has the same name on it. Display notification when someone sends or tries to send you files. That's your option. You get a post-it note. You can also turn that off. So that covers the general settings. All right, so just because you hit close does not mean this is absolutely closed. It's still running right now. So that's just a close button for the window. If you want to exit the application, it's right-click and quit. And then you can either look up by typing in WAR, for Warpinator, or if I have it set to my favorites, which I do. You know, you can also do all kinds of things with these icons, but more importantly, I'm going to click it and activate it, and then it'll rescan your network. And sometimes you need to do that. On this machine, I had to make a special provision because my network card went to sleep after a couple of minutes, and that makes you lose connections. The other computers I didn't need to do that on. Both of these are running Cinnamon. This one's running Xfce. This does not always happen, but I'm going to talk a little bit about troubleshooting, folks. So basically what you're looking at here again, I'll just do the recap. Sam is our user for today. This is the name of his computer. This is the IP address of his computer, and the W part is using wireless. That's the IP address on the other two. Just focus on the ending numbers. Most local home networks are always the first three digits are the same. It'll more likely be 192.168.0 or .1, and then whatever numbers you have. That's assigned by your home router. Keep in mind, this tool is for your local network only, not the internet. Let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting. A lot of times you lose connections because of power management stuff. whether it's something to do with shutting off your computer when it hibernates, when it goes to sleep, when it has suspend turned on. There's all kinds of things that can cause that. Now, a lot of times the screensaver really doesn't have an effect on that, but if you are having dropouts, and let's say they're 10 minutes, it's possible that your screensaver power management is interfering with that. Then you may want to increase the time frames. I didn't really see that problem here. But then again, I haven't let it totally cycle through a blank screen yet. So you can increase these numbers if you're having connection issues. Now in my case, that's not what solved that problem. What solved that problem is I have a reference point for you. So again, I would encourage that you subscribe if you need to do this to your computer. All right, so this is the actual copy of that file, and I'll show you the location of it in a second. I'm going to open this in a text editor. It's actually a very simple line. So basically on mine, it said 3 on there. I changed it to 2. The file location is in the Xfce network, and it's in conf.d. File system. This again is Xfce. I did not have this problem on the Cinnamon desktops, but the Cinnamon desktop also does have the same reference in case you want to check that out. And maybe your network card is, well, misbehaving. How's that? But anyways, Xfce is right here. This again is the file system. And then we're going to look for the network manager. So it's down on the ends. Network managers right here. I'm going to open that up, and it has a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm looking for conf.d, which is that one right there. It only has one file. This file is owned by root. That means you have to have root permissions to change anything in here. So basically, that normally says 3. How do you edit this file? Right-click, open this in root mode. Before you do that, may I suggest that you copy this file and you put it somewhere, just in case you want to return it back to default. Copy this file, put it somewhere. Stick it in your documents. Stick it somewhere where you know where it's at. Right-click, open as root. Again, I only had to do it to this machine. So all I did was change that 3 to a 2, and that kept my connections alive. Okay? So as soon as you change that number, you can hit save, because I have elevated privileges turned on. That means it'll save that file in, because I'm in pseudo or simulated root mode, pseudo mode. Some of you folks know what I mean. But anyways, I only had to do it to this computer. I did not have to do that to the other Cinnamon desktops. But in case you have that affliction, again, check your power settings. It's very important because everything affects everything nowadays. We got a lot of interactions going on. You know, you have suspend modes that come in to play after so many minutes. Well, you may want to check all those. All right, now my laptop is actually in screensaver mode. But more importantly, it is this machine right here. I can still send it a file. So let's send that computer a something. Let's send it a photograph, picture. I don't know if you heard that through my microphone, but that went chime on my laptop. Now I'm going to log into my laptop for a second because it's in screensaver mode. And I have a thing that says something got sent to me. Okay, from Sam, which is this computer here. So I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to go over to this screen so you can see it. This could be off and minimized, and you'll just get a post-it note. So I'll do it in 2 ways. I'm going to send 2 things to that computer, Sam. So I'm going to first send, let's see what I can send over. I will do one text file, and you can see that it says transfer complete from T-Man. That would be the other computer. So I'm going to open this up, and you can see a green tab. And now you can see that I sent this text file. And I can either open that in the Warpinator folder, or I can go manually in here. And you can see it there. It's command text. So if I do it this way, it just goes directly to that container. Okay. So I will leave this open, and I'll send this another file. This time I am going to send it something huge. Do I want to send that whole folder? Why not? All right, new incoming, and let's see how big this thing is. It's 201 files, it's 41 megabytes, and it's completed. Let's go open the container. It's an icon folder with all my goofy icons. Okay, so now I would cut and transfer that out of there, because this is quite huge, and after a while this is going to take up a lot of space. It's currently 38 megabytes, so we're still working on the formula over here. Okay, so you want to address that when you're getting a ton of files, or you can increase the limit if you like. So whether they're incoming or outgoing, again, that is all up to you. So outgoing, incoming, that's the arrows. This is just a log. You can leave it there, or you can clean it up. So again, this is that laptop that I was dealing with, and the other one is the tower computer. Okay, I don't think I need to demo that, but anyways. So Mary doesn't have anything, but this one does. So if I don't like to see these anymore, delete, delete, delete. Does it delete those files? No, they're still in here. You have to deal with these yourself. You can either delete them, or you can cut them and transfer them to wherever they need to go. All right. So one more time, I'm going to do a recap on this. You open up the Warpinator tool for the first time. It will normally generate this folder if you don't have it. The connection point is where you need to stop first. Group code is important. It needs to be the same on all the computers, and you make sure that spelling is the same. Group code is going to have to be the same on all 3 computers, or however many computers you have. Then I would suggest that you click on the automatic and manually change that to whatever connection point you have for your network, whether it's Wi-Fi or whether it's Ethernet. Incoming ports, I would just leave alone. I still suggest upgrading or updating your firewall. Now, in my case, you can probably see the firewall is on. If the firewall is off, it will still import the rules. And if your firewall is off, you will not see the rules until you turn it on. Now you can see them. This all came from Warpinator. It is used to allow you connections. If you do not have these, your machine will reject incoming. It's set to deny unless you put rules in here. That's very important to understand if you activate a firewall. Okay? All the rules do is allow Warpinator to transmit and receive. That's what these rules are all about. They're all Warpinator rules. All of them. All right. Group code, all need to be the same. Update your firewall rules after you change these, and I would suggest just leaving the port numbers alone. Then go over to General, and you can do this to each one of those machines, whether you're on an Xfce or Cinnamon desktop, and adjust them accordingly. You probably want that one. You may or may not want that one. You may or may not want this one. You probably don't want that one. The file location is Warpinator. You can, of course, change this. However, I would just recommend leaving that alone. It's easy. The folder's already created for you. All you got to do is maintain it. Reserve space, you may want to increase that or not. Require approval, again, is normally on by default. It's normally on by default. If you don't want to deal with the annoying click, 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 then turn that off and the files will be sent directly into the folder. That way you can review them later. Whenever you open up the Warpinator application, you'll still see a green line if there's received information. Require approval when files would be overridden. Again, I would leave that on. Display notification when somebody tries to send. I would probably leave that on. Thank you for watching.